Hi guys, this week we are talking about how diseases spread. Just a review from last week, we are talking about in this unit only infectious diseases. So not things like cancer or genetic diseases, only things that are caused by pathogens. Another reminder, these are the 5 pathogens that cause human diseases: parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoans, also known as protists. You might see either one. Viruses are the only pathogens that are considered to be non-living things. All right, here's the new stuff. There are 4 main ways that pathogens can spread, and they're infected people, infected animals, contaminated objects, and soil, food, and water. The spread of diseases is called transmission. Very important word when we're talking about disease. All right, the first way diseases can spread is through infected people. This can happen either directly or indirectly. So direct transmission between people would be kissing, shaking hands, anything where 2 people are physically directly touching one another. Indirect transmission would be getting sneezed on, getting coughed on, getting breathed on by someone who is sick. So you're not actually touching them, but the pathogen is passing from them to you. As we talked about in class last week, sometimes infected people are carriers, and these are people who don't show any symptoms of having the disease, but they are passing it to other people. So an example of that was Typhoid Mary, who was never sick with typhoid, but caused the deaths of a lot of people who she worked for because she was passing the typhoid bacteria to them. Another way diseases can spread is through infected animals. This can be through a bite, or sometimes through the blood of the animal if it's an animal that's been killed, or the feces of the animal and someone's cleaning it up. Animals that spread diseases are called vectors. They are organisms that are not people that are carrying pathogens from one disease to another. So this is like Lyme disease, which is transferred by ticks. Other examples would be swine flu came from pigs, and bird flu comes from birds. Diseases that are spread by vectors are called vector-borne diseases, which are spread through direct contact with the animal. Anytime you see borne at the end, that means it's describing the transmission of the pathogen. So rabies is a vector-borne disease, can come from an infected animal bite. Lyme disease, like we just talked about, malaria from a mosquito, and Ebola from fruit bats. This is a fruit bat in the picture. Method of transmission number 3 is a contaminated object. So this would be like someone's used tissue that you touch, or sharing a fork with someone if they have a disease. Any sort of object that's been contaminated that you would touch and then maybe touch your mouth or your eyes or something like that, and allow the pathogen to get into your body. Some pathogens are better at staying on contaminated surfaces for longer. Just depends on what the individual pathogen is. Some pathogens really don't survive well outside the human body at all, and so they're rarely passed by contaminated objects. The last way that pathogens can spread is through soil, food, or water. So these would be your waterborne diseases, your foodborne diseases like food poisoning, which are transferred through eating something that's contaminated or drinking something that's contaminated. There's some really bad water protists that you can get, which is why if you don't have filtered water like we have here, you need to boil your water to kill any pathogens that may be inside. Cholera is a waterborne disease. Giardia is a pretty terrible pathogen that's a protist that gives you really terrible diarrhea, which is waterborne. E. coli, salmonella would be foodborne diseases. All right, so as a review, transmission is the spread of diseases. Diseases can spread through infected people, infected animals, contaminated objects, or through soil, food, and water. That's it for this week. Bye.